their strategy is. They want to focus on maybe on some Guardians. I know that Emilzy really likes his Terra, Callus really likes the Athena. That could be another Guardian battle.
Yeah, so, well, the Athena not going to be battled over because it's going to be banned, as will be the Circuit that Tully and I were talking about. No surprise here, I think, for the people at home that are well aware of where these teams are at. Guan Yu banned out by NRG, as well as Giannis in the middle lane, which leaves Wolfie's first pick for Team Rival.
The first healer. How does NRG respond? Do they go straight for the Odin? Maybe trying to prevent Rival from getting it. Will get the Cerberus. Has some anti-healing built into the kit. Being able to reduce the anti-healing, absorb some of it, and just great setup with the AoE Stygian Torment, burning the beads. You add the Artemis Tusky on top of that. That's going to be a good ping-pong action.
Nice control there. Looking at Ra, character that does get toppled easily by control. But an on-her selection here for vote. That's an interesting one. We don't really see too much on her these days.
Not in summer of Season 5. Maybe a little bit of the Season 5 beginning when vote was still super aggressive, still going for the blinks now and then. And this could be a good way to combat against the Artemis that has such a good mid to late game. You try to shut her down early with the blink on her, which vote has been known to do.
Thoth, Ra's cousin, will go ahead and be on the other side, but I want to dig into this Amaterasu pick here, totally. Speaking to a number of our analysts here, everybody from Ryan to Finch thinks that Amaterasu is really going to be making a very big impact here from, Amaterasu is going to be a very important pick as the meta evolves. Why do you think Amaterasu is so high on everybody's list?
Short cooldown on the ultimate, being able to stun multiple members, being able to be so agile for not only herself but her teammates, absorbing a lot of shots. Every time you stand switch, you're going to get a little bit of health return. It's difficult to really lock her down because where Giannis thrives in team environments with the portals, Amaterasu does in a different way, just not going through walls.
Is there something special about this current meta that allows her to come to the forefront?
So with Season 5 map being a little bit wider, any extra mobility you can get in the game is more valuable.
Certainly something to chew on and think about. Hunt Batsinator going to be the jungle for NRG. As we see three other junglers banned out, Merc, Rat, and Nemesis Odin, I suppose, a jungler in his own right. But that one's going to be banned out. And so with the Cage guy banned, Sylvanas will be the choice. Next to a Vamana, another character that has sort of risen in the ranks as far as that's concerned, as far as notoriety is concerned. And it's been a while. And since, in fact, it's been, I think, a full 6 weeks and then some since we saw Vamana in the jungle in the hands of Homie FA for CLG. And frankly, totally, I think that's where this Vamana's going.
It definitely seems to be the case. I don't expect Amaterasu to go there. That's probably going to go for Deathwalker, but you got a lot of sustain for Rival between this Raw Sylvanas, but a lot of burst damage to try to fight that on NRG side. Some good anti-healing options between the two Guardians. First pick Cerberus, last pick Sobek with the Sickening Strike. You add maybe a Divine Ruin, Brawler's Beatstick, Curse Dunk. I think NRG can fight into this if they can group up.
Hun Bats is one of my favorite characters when it comes down to combating burst characters and extended healing characters. Those are two ends of the spectrum, so that sounds kind of weird, but where I'm coming from is Hun Bats is one of the few characters that can actually control somebody long enough that you can delete them before they do what they want to do. So with that said, I like the bunt hats here, and you're feeling NRG, huh?
If NRG could pick on Callus's Sylvanas, they should win.
Well, this one's going to be very tight. I'm going to strap myself in for this one because it'd be a long one. Rival versus NRG. Let's get to the action.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Tolly, Finch, and Aggro. Going to be here for you on the call. NRG versus Rival. This is a big-time matchup between these two squads. Yeah. It looks like sustained going up against some late-game burst.
I really like it because NRG clearly came in with a plan. Everyone's been banning Raw against Rival and against Wolfie. So when you leave it open, you know they're going to first pick it, and clearly NRG had a plan for that. I love the early pick of Cerberus. I love the late pick of Sobek. I just wonder if they're still going to have enough anti-heal, which is crazy to think about. We're going to need at least one cursed Ankh. And that's the thing, is that Rival kind of played into it. They didn't pick one healer and go, okay, you can shut down this, but the rest of our picks are going to go free because of it. Vamana's going to get really affected by that anti-heal. Sylvanas, Ama, 3 other picks on the team are going to be affected by that, and that worries me.
Yeah, and that's a little bit, so he's definitely going to want to have that sustain. We'll see how well NRG are going to be able to combat it. And then to their own win condition, I mean, Artemis and Thoth in the late game, I mean, and Unbots, Fear No Evil, to set up for you seems good to me, right? If I'm checking the boxes of things I want late.
Yes, Hun Bats is Fear No Evil is going to be really, really big here for NRG for sure. And their late game team fight is going to be really solid. They've got plenty of control, lots of CDC, plenty of damage.
Yes.
Good gods at applying anti-heal as well. That's pretty important. Hunbats is totally fine building Brawler's Beatstick. Thoth is totally fine building Divine Ruin.
Personalmente, vuelvo a decir, personalmente.
Well, who do you think is going to win there in Mixer chat? You like NRG's draft, or do you kind of like the sustain here coming from Rival? I know Rival has a lot of fanboys there in chat, and rightfully so. A lot of cool guys on that squad, on both squads, really. But I know there's a lot of fanboy behind them.
Rival, the team that sold the most badges, if I remember correctly, from the season ticket. Yeah, that's what we were hearing during the spring split, at least. Maybe NRG was able to overtake them during the summer. But look, NRG's got a lot of fans left over from their great, dominant runs during season 3 and 4. So I think they're going to be just fine.
Well, I think that we're just about ready to move into the game here again between NRG and Rival. And already we're following along with Wolfie here in the mid lane. And you highlighted it at the start of this, that this gets banned against Wolfie all the time. He plays this Ra so well. This is what Rival does better than you, is play as a 5-man unit with 5 kits instead of just 5 kind of moving around all over the place. They are so good when they group up, and I feel like Ra is sort of the catalyst for that.
For sure. I mean, Rival has been playing this Ra for over a year now when no one else was really playing Sustain. Rival was playing with Sustain and playing with it very, very well, and now that it's kind of widely accepted that healers are pretty strong in this meta, that Rod of Asclepius is a really, really good item that boosts a lot of those healing numbers for your entire team. It's no surprise that Rival wants to go straight back to it. How can NRG kind of combat that, though? No Curse Donk at level 1, not too much of a surprise, but honestly, Rival's going to rely on healing for all of their characters so much that I wouldn't have minded to see an early Curse Donk on a Mealsy, though Sprint obviously very, very good against Vamana because he does rely pretty heavily on that umbrella.
Los resultados son 60% Rival, 40% NRG.
I'm actually a little surprised that it's this close. I know that on paper, this is a very close matchup, but I just kind of thought the fans might skew a little bit more towards Rival. Glad to see it showing up that close there in the polls.
Well, Rival always ends up beating NRG in these best of 3 sets online. So that does kind of surprise me that it is that close. Historically, Rival has had a ton of success against this NRG squad.
Wolfie under a little bit of pressure here in the mid lane. It is going to be Ice Ice Baby bringing that Vamana into the jungle. Meanwhile, his support over in the dual lane, Collis on the Sylvanas. I mean, how is this matchup going to be? You always feel like when the Sylvanas gets picked, that you expect the other team to try and bully it. I mean, can you do that with adapting on the Unbox? It's not the most aggressive jungle.
No, it isn't, but it will set up pretty nicely for the rest of the team. It's more about this laning phase. Picking the Sylvanas alongside the Anhur. Anhur's a god that can punish Sobek very, very well. Trying to pluck that Sylvanas in. Not every hunter can really do that effectively, and that's why I think this Anhur pick works very well alongside the Sylvanas. It almost protects the Guardian in this sense. It can stop the pluck from going through. It can just dissuade a Mealsy from trying to play aggressive in the first place, because Artemis is not going to be able to Anhur at this point in the game without getting pretty darn lucky with the crits.
We just saw Ice Ice way in the enemy jungle. He's been all over the map already. Once again now on the chaos side of things, and it's been Yaman who's kind of been pairing up with Adapting, following him around the jungle, so he doesn't end up in too much duress over, but it's been that Wolfie's kind of been doing his camps on his own, and he's been kind of slowing down the pathing from Adapting in Yaman.
I mean, check out that XP per minute chart on the left side of your screen. That really tells the story what you were just saying. Wolfie has been able to solo down waves pretty consistently. Yaman has not only lost a little bit of farm because of the stealing away that Ice Ice Baby's been doing, but the farm that Yaman does get alongside Adapting is shared between the two of them, whereas Wolfie has largely just soloed down stuff by himself.
Walker is getting a little bit low on the solo side, though, and Adapting is also here in the jungle. He has gone the beads, though, so it's not going to be the blink in engage. So we do have a pause coming out. Looks like NRG needed a moment to get everything ready, so we'll get the players right back in, no problem. But you talked a little bit about how you thought the Sylvanas was mostly about the laning phase, and how well it paired up then with that Anhur. So what NRG got to do when they start transitioning out of that then?
NRG kind of wants to stay in the laning phase for a little bit, because if they go to the team fight phase too early, early before their anti-heal items are online, Rival's just going to roll them because there's going to be so much healing on their side that NRG won't be able to really compete. I think that NRG likely wants to extend this laning phase a little bit longer and try and get those anti-heal items up and running. Now, you could do that, or if you go hyper early with your groupings, if you try and start grouping on the third buff respawns, you know, 8-10 minutes in, or on the left side around Gold Furies, before the healing is so much that it's difficult to combat, those are your only two options. But once the mid game hits, once the Sylvanas Wisps are maxed, once Wolfie's heal is starting to get maxed out, that's going to be a problem before NRG has their anti-heal online.
And you talked about the grouping. Well, already we're seeing Yaman and Adapting kind of moving around together. Why are they grouping up together so much? Is it just Ice's pressure right now? Is it that they're worried about him like coming after them in the jungle?
It's that there is a lot to do on the map right now, and Hunbat's one of the reasons we don't see a whole lot of him right now is that his clear speed isn't that great, especially in the early game. Once he maxes overhand smash and can just pancake the entire minions that he's hitting, it's not a big deal. But right now it does take him a little bit, and Yaman also doesn't clear the wave particularly well by himself in mid, so you may as well kind of split the difference there, speed up your clear in the mid lane together, speed up the clear on your jungle camps, and the fact is that Ice Baby's playing a character that can walk in, throw the umbrella rang or the armored umbrella, and then walk out very, very quickly, so you have to protect your camps from him.
And then I've asked you this one here already, but I mean, how do you feel that the late game for NRG? I mean, because I think that they have plenty of damage late, right, between the Artemis and the Thoth. Is it enough to kind of burst through the healing that Rival have on their composition right now? I mean, even with a bunch of anti-heal stuff. I mean,
sure. It's difficult to say because a lot of what Raw heal in particular is different than, say, Hell heal or Aphrodite heal because it's an out-of-combat heal most of the time. You're going to back it up, wait for a moment, heal up, and then re-engage off of it. The Ama heal and the Vamana heal and the Sylvanas heal, those heals are more combat-oriented. So those are the ones that I think NRG needs to worry about more so than Wolfie's Raw, because Raw healing, you can't really stop very effectively. Right. You have to just kill him in the midst of the team fights. He has to be your focus, and I expect that's where NRG will go. Focus out the Raw. The other healing will be annoying, yes, but you can deal with that in combat much, much easier than you can the Raw heal when they back up and reset, which is how Rival plays this composition almost every time.
They do such a good job of it in those prolonged fights around the objectives in particular, and they kind of force your hand, right? You have to play into their game, because they do go over to the objectives early. They poke them out, they poke you out, and they kind of force you to stay in there way longer than you want to. And NRG, if they play in that game, it's not going to be easy for them, as we did see Deathwalker back over in the solo lane. No worry about a gank coming in from Adapting, and it'll be just fine. Has to sprint opposed to teleport, so he had to hoof it back up to lane.
Typical Deathwalker does not seem to favor that teleport whatsoever, but honestly it makes some sense here because he is Amaterasu. She can get back to lane very, very quickly with that movement speed aura on the one. You add in the sprint now, that gives him some extra safety against Emilzy and against Yaman even, who is going to try and close the gap between the two very quickly, mostly looking at the slow from Emilzy's ultimate. You're using that sprint to immune. Just gets him, it's a more diverse relic. It lets you do different things much, much better than teleport does. You can use that sprint defensively to get away from the slow from the waters. You can use it offensively to chase down Maniac or Yaman or Adapting or whomever you need to chase at any given time. And I think that the Deathwalker seems to really value that versatility over the pretty narrow uses of teleport.
Right, it's essentially just you can kind of maybe make a surprise rotation to a fight or back and come right back really quickly on a siege, but aside from that, it's not helping nearly as much in a team fight. But you talked about the slow from Emilzy here on this Sobek. I feel like for a while there, Sobek was like the pick, right? Like you had to play Sobek, and you put him in the solo lane, and then he sort of dropped off for a little bit. I mean, why are we seeing less Sobek now?
I think that he's still a really solid pick overall, and honestly, I think that we will see a little bit more of him than we have the last few weeks, but teams just kind of learn how to play around him, how to take buffs elsewhere on the map, how to just invade XP camps consistently instead of trying to gank the Sobek, or learning how to play around that Sobek laning phase and pick gods that can either ignore him in the lane and out team fight him in the late. It's hard to do, but Ama is one god that can do that. Or how to just punish him outright in lane. Pick the Cucullins, pick the Achilles, and really bully him pretty hard early on. It's the natural evolution of things, you know. Just because we make balance changes every patch, every 2 weeks, doesn't mean that the meta wouldn't change on its own. And I think that's something that you see in a lot of games where there aren't as many changes consistently. Things develop over time, things get better, things get worse, without any sort of actual numbers change.
That's right.
But it just doesn't happen as much in Smite because there are so many actual numbers changes that go through consistently.
He's got a good steal there from Wolfie as he actually drops the ultimate over the wall to try and strip that red buff away, and looks like he was successful. Bit of a grouping now between Adapting and Ice Ice in the jungle. Ice Ice has elected to go with the Link as opposed to safer option as the Fear No Evil comes out top of Wolfie. Quick blood comes out from Milzy right into the final judgment. Yemen gets first blood for NRG Esports, pull up the mark, but Maniac's here with the Stygian Torment. Collis could be in trouble here next, and he is. Maniac gets that kill.
Ice up into the ultimate, trying to give himself some safety. Vote doing lots of damage there, but immediately forced to jump away after the damage coming through from Yemen. Where was the beads from Wolfie? I thought he was just being very patient with them on the bottom right side when Adapting drops the Fear No Evil, and I think holding beads there is risky, but ends up paying off for him. If he just uses beads on the Sobek pluck, I think Wolfie's out of there. I mean, Yemen was so far back. I'm not sure that Final Judgment connects there without the pluck displacing Wolfie back towards the middle lane. You got to give credit where it's due, though, to Vote. That rotation and the pillar placement nearly blocked Kalas from going where all of NRG thought he was going to go. Now, didn't end up mattering because Maniac was still so healthy and had all his cooldowns up that he was able to cut him down pretty quickly after that. But I love the idea there from Vote to use that pillar as a block on that Stygian Torment. Really, really smart.
Ends up helping them out after the aggression from Adapting. Good job finding the Fear No Evil. And then Emilzy kind of in traffic, you know, is able to find the pluck that really ends up spelling the problem for Wolfie, where he ends up being thrown back towards Yemen. But as you mentioned, he held on to those purification beads, has those still available. So at the very least, hopefully, he'll be safer in the next gank. But I think you raise a legitimate question. Almost too cautious there in that fight in the mid lane, and really ends up falling for it. Now Ice Ice moving forward into the jungle. Deathwalker's here with them, but it's a big grouping from NRG in response.
Deathwalker, first one in. Blue buffs are down on both sides, so no potential invades here. Maniac gonna jump on top of Deathwalker, but no ultimate to pull him back towards Yemen. In a lot of situations as a mid laner, when you're getting committed on right there, Wolfie's already down to half HP, he's low on mana, he's not really gonna be able to contribute to that fight. Sometimes it is better to just hold your beads, accept your death, and move on. But first blood makes that a little bit worse in my mind. You don't want to give up that first blood bounty. It's just a little bit too little.
Kalas in a whole heap of trouble. Wrath of Terror comes out, but Final Judgment from Yemen, of course, is going to be on the mark. Now Emilzy trying to find the escape path. Ultimate comes out from Wolfie. The pillar means that Emilzy can't go the way he wants to, and now Ice Ice Baby with the slows is chasing him down. Does have the pluck, so Emilzy's able to reposition, and yet another clean pick for NRG. In fact, there might be trouble now for Deathwalker, who's gone too aggressive in the jungle.
Jumped on by Adapting, but Deathwalker still has the sprint. He's trying to get away. Yemen with that invade and punish. Not going to be able to close the gap, and Deathwalker could be out of there. I believe he is. Adapting doesn't have blink here. Can't imagine he's going to catch up even with use of that speed buff.
Now Maniac is coming down as well, but I don't know if he's going to be able to make the cutoff path. Now with all that extra movement speed and the dash, Deathwalker is going to be able to make it out of there. Plus he was sustaining the whole time too with the when he's able to switch stance. So he is going to be okay, but what an escape act from him. But this is why Sobek was so prevalent for a while there. The pluck that he gets on the Kalas, I feel like, is what sets up that whole fight.
And then Emilzy makes a great play to get away from the danger that was after him. I mean, jukes out the Raw Snipe by half an inch, then is able to bait out Vote and Ice Ice Baby's ultimate and still escape. That was two big ults that Rival committed that didn't really find a home to bring down Emilzy. Well played by the Hunter by the support for NRG.
Maniac now in a bit of a 2v1 as Ice Ice has come to join Deathwalker here in the solo lane. Not much mana between the two of them, so they're kind of going to leave this one alone and instead just head back over to base. But now 3 kills here for NRG, none for Rival, and about a 600 gold lead, so still not that big of a lead. Experience right around 800 or so too. So even though NRG have gotten a couple picks, they have not been able to get that much off them just yet. It's just been their composition working well together in these small fights.
But this is where the healing for Team Rival, we talked about it a lot so far, this is where it's going to really start to become impactful. Right now, when you're getting extra points and all those healing abilities, Wisps is getting higher, that heal for Raw is getting higher, it'll be difficult to handle overall, but you could already see some itemization starting to go towards that. Adapting should finish off a Brawler's Beat Stick next item. Can't imagine that'll be a Crusher, even Jotun's Wrath. Why not just go for the anti-healing right off the bat, have it for when you need it, and then pick up your extra damage and pen items after that. I think it would be a pretty big mistake to go for anything.
Anur con
but
el ulti.
Vote and Melito might be boxing this one out. Is able to jump away though from the boar. Meanwhile, Smite comes out from Wolfie and the ultimate from Yemen both hits, but Ice blinks in onto Emil's in the backside. Does get a little bit of healing, and is going to use a lurking in the waters, but it's too much damage coming out from Ice. Is going to be able to take him down with that Colossal Fury, but will he pay for it? Now that adapting has shown up, Yemen has the evade punish, able to get away for now. So instead, the Stygian Torment is going to be used to control Deathwalker right into the Fear No Evil.
But Deathwalker's still alive until Melito rotates in. Votes here as well as Ice finds Emil on the backside. Maniac gonna jump in to try and finish off Kalas. He'll do so, but in the process trades his life to Vote.
Ends up being a bloodbath, 3 for 2 overall, and does actually favor Rival there in that skirmish. They are able to keep Ice, Wolfie, and Vote all alive after Ice went very deep chasing down Emilzy, but that's a little bit more of what Rival want. Not letting NRG's sort of big teamfight ultimates kind of all work together, like the Fear No Evil and Yemen to follow up. When they kind of got wasted, I feel like that went a little bit better for Rival.
And that poke that Vote put out onto Emilito on the left side just before that engagement happened ended up being really, really impactful because Ice got an easy cleanup kill by Red Buff because Emilito was already so low and without his ultimate. And Artemis, who's half health with no ult, is a sitting duck. I don't care if she's got beads or Aegis or what. That's basically a free kill for any jungler right now, and Ice took a nice advantage of that. And that dual lane matchup's one that I was really interested in coming into this game because Vote has looked really, really good so far. All of Season 5 had a great World Championship run in Season 4. And Emilito was the hunter to beat in the entire world, in my estimation, after Season 4. He played so well, even when the rest of NRG really wasn't. But his Season 5 finish has been really, really lackluster for the most part. And this is kind of the story of the rise of one hunter and the potential fall or just downtrend of another. And so far, it's been pretty even. ML's been doing some pretty good work, but that little ultimate trade on the left-hand side, that was Vote just baiting out the ultimate from Emilito and kind of outplaying him with it. I think this is going to be a really critical matchup for these two teams, not just in this set, but for the entire season from here on out, because you know these two are going to be competing for land spots, competing for top in Europe. And I think Vote versus Emilito is going to be a huge factor in those matchups.
Up here at the top end between these top 4 really EU teams, I mean, you're 100% correct. It's such small areas where you have an advantage, where there's difference in skill or in practice or what have you. So Vote, I mean, really all of Rival. I've been saying this for a little while now, but it used to be that Rival were the team that team fought better than you, even though they didn't have the 5 best players in the world. But more and more, they're starting to have claim to that. I think individually, they're really playing so well. I mean, Ice at LAN was nuts. Collis, too, really stepped up. Both of them, I felt like. Vote's been playing so well all split long. You're really, I think, starting to be able to make the case that individually, they've improved so much as players and as a team.
I really do think Vote has a serious claim to being the best hunter on the planet right now. And you're hard-pressed to find one who has done more in the last 6 months of competition than Vote has.
The Maniac now is going to use the Stygian Torment to avoid getting knocked up, which means Wolfie cannot follow up with that ultimate. He was right over the wall. I'm sure he would have been waiting. Of course, this is Maniac with the breastplate, tier 1, some magical defense as well, so probably wouldn't have been enough to kill, but at least avoids that whole scenario and trades out ult for ult with Deathwalker.
And that favors Team Rival in my mind because Dazzling Offensive is an ultimate that has a pretty low cooldown, as is. No CDR in Deathwalker's build quite yet. I want to touch on his build in a moment. but Maniac's ultimate has been very disruptive so far and been difficult for Rival to handle, specifically for Kalas. Kalas has been getting Stygian tormented a lot so far, just 14 minutes in. So that's a win for Rival to chase out that Stygian torment already.
And they've gone into some anti-heal already, has this NRG squad, talking about how disruptive they've been in the fight. So they want to try and disrupt some of this healing too. The Pestilence already there for Maniac. Brawler's already there for adapting. That's been rushed as well. And earlier I was saying that their kills kind of were they weren't getting a big lead for energy, but they were kind of keeping Collis down a bit. He's 0-3-2 at this point, a little bit behind Emilzy. I mean, anything to try and keep this Sylvanas and that sustain from being too powerful is a benefit to energy for sure.
It is, but now Collis is probably A-okay with that because he's hit the point. Sylvanas, once he gets Lotus Crown, and can just press 2, give 40 protections in total, it's 20 physical, 20 magical, to his entire team for an extended period of time. He's fine. You can kill him if you want. As long as Collis can get that Wisp off, he's going to have done his job in the majority of these team fights. That plus the ultimate, he's good. He doesn't need a lot more than that.
Aggression from Emilzy. or really from Eyesight Baby, who's very far out of position, gets plucked right back in. Meanwhile, Collis is going in on Emilito, who does drop the ultimate. Eyesight is incredibly low, jumping in from adapting Emils. He finds the last hit. That's going to be another kill for the support. And Energy now up 6-3 in the kills, 5-4 in the fight. Staging Torment going to pull Deathwalker right back towards Yemen, who doesn't really have any more damage, but Emil's here to try and help disrupt.
But plucks away instead of plucking Deathwalker back towards his team, and this is where Deathwalker may be low right now. Between the Wisps and his own healing, it's not going to last for very long.
Now, when Eyesight gets separated, though, he's not going to be able to be a part of that big healing, so he does get kind of Eyesight at the top part of the map and fall. But you're right, the rest of the squad has no problem just standing up after trading and ready to continue boxing it out. Deathwalker kind of bullying, adapting a little bit here in the jungle. Brent even comes out as Yemen is able to find Collis. Dazzling defensive is used, but he perfectly bounces away. Does adapting. Very cool under pressure.
That was so sick there by adapting. Now Deathwalker got baited in a little bit. Sprint was popped, but with evade and punish missing, that means Deathwalker's safe to escape. Love that play from adapting, but Collis got picked in mid, but all of what Deathwalker just did opens up this Gold Fury on the left for Rival.
Emil's on his way, but he's not going to make it in time. Gold Fury goes down to Rival pretty cleanly between Vote and Wolfie, and then on her damage. Emil's going to continue trying to bug him, but at this point, the Crocs kind of lost it already. Gold Fury going to help Rival even things up here in the gold department. Experience still a little bit in favor of Energy, though, but Eyesight not letting that last death deter him, Ryan. He is back in the enemy jungle aggressing again.
And that is Eyesight Baby for you. Man, I got to say, Eyesight is, I don't know whether this is disrespect or arrogance or what, but going for no beads against this team composition from Energy. I mean, you're talking about Stygian Torment is one of the best ultimates in punishing you for not having beads. So is Fear No Evil. So is Caledonian Boar. Emilzy can knock you all around without having purification beads. I know Eyesight has a CC immune ultimate and is likely going to be going for a Magi's Cloak with that next item, but I do not like Thorns on gods that aren't building tanky anyways. Eyesight is really not going to dissuade Emilito from killing him in his ultimate with Thorns, because yes, he'll return some damage onto himself, but you'll be able to kill Eyesight before that Thorns really kills you. I think Thorns only works on tanky characters. These semi-tanky warriors who are first two items are pure damage. He's got no additional protection right now. I don't think Thorns is a whole lot for him. And we just saw it on top left side. Fear No Evil is a death for Eyesight Baby at this point in the game. You can ult afterwards, but there's so much anti-healing for Energy. You can chase him down very easily. I gotta say, I'm not a fan of the lack of purification beads, but if I'm gonna criticize one, I gotta criticize the other. Where is the Cursed Ankh from Energy? I mean, this is guaranteed. You upgrade that Cursed Ankh, and Eyesight is taking extra damage every time he ults. Deathwalker taking every damage every time he switches stance. If Kalos presses 2, he just killed his entire team. It's so strong in these instances specifically, where it's gods can't help but heal, that I am shocked that Energy doesn't go for it.
It's a powerful relic here in this situation, but they're trusting in the anti-heal that they purchased for themselves. They do look to potentially aggress on Wolfie, who's by his tier 2 tower. This shouldn't be too much trouble. Red buff is going to spawn. Perhaps that's why Emilzy is zoning, and that is going to be the call. Energy able to come down and grab this one for themselves. Eyesight in the mid lane is able to dash right out of there again. That's good timing. A big rotation coming in from the rest of the Energy boys.
And that's the opportunity to pluck them back in and make it happen there if you're someone on Energy, because Eyesight is so vulnerable to that.
Maniac goes in, Stygian Torment countered by the Wrath of Terra. Ultimate hits Emilito coming out from Wolfie, but doesn't do that much damage. Energy are going to have to regroup. This is the kind of fight that Rival would love to take right now. A prolonged fight over an objective where they can just sustain, and Rival are happy to do it.
And shout outs to Emilzy's build, because he has that Heartward Amulet already pretty early on, and that extra bit of magical protection provided to Emilito is why Wolfie sniped did so little damage, because Wolfie prioritized the Rod of Asclepius, as he should, with this many healers on his team. This is helping his entire squad with that extra bonus healing passive, but it does delay his pen by a considerable amount, and that's why Emil took so little damage there.
In the end, Rival still have a 5-man grouping here in middle lane. Now they're the ones moving in aggressively, kind of realizing that Energy are not sure where exactly they want to go next. Again, Energy have gotten picks, yes, but it's netted them, what, maybe about 1,000 gold lead, something along those lines. And still Rival, very, very comfortable to take these team fights with them, forcing adapting back for mid Harpies. Actually getting the pull onto Emilzy, immediately goes into lurking in the waters, but that's purely defensive. He does come into the jungle, but there's nothing more to find.
That works very, very well for Rival. You called it. I mean, they want these extended engagements. Now, unfortunately for them, there's nothing for them to take with these extended engagements. Gold Fury's down, Pyromancer is down. It's far too early for Fire Giant for either of these teams being as close as they are. Maybe a tier 1 tower siege is in the works now.
As Collis goes in, Rathatira knocks up 3. Maniac, though, has a Stygian Torment of his own. That is going to pull Collis back under the tower, but there's no immediate follow-up damage. Maniac has to regroup. Fear No Evil going to catch Deathwalker and pull him right back into the final judgment. Yemen finds the shot, and Ice is now trapped under the tower as well. Can't even make this to the Colossal Fury. 2 kills now for NRG Esports, and they're not done chasing Collis. Gets stunned, he gets plucked right back into the damage, and Imolito gets that kill double for the Hunter for NRG Esports. Rival bit off way more than they can chew.
Love that initiation there overall by Rival, but they just don't have the damage to really follow it up. I mean, Maniac is so tanky to Wolfie right now. Emilzy, so tanky, and he's making everyone else harder to kill for this Raw. Emolito, by the way, has a one hell of a team fight because Yemen is immediately in trouble once Ice blinks over that tier 1 tower wall. What does Emolito do? Press 4, slaughter the Vimana because he's got no beats, and that's just a free kill for him every single time. Really good job by NRG. Also adapting his ultimate right before Deathwalker gets his toe outside the tower range, places Fear No Evil on his back, pushes him back underneath the tower, and makes sure the Deathwalker keeps taking those escalating damage in tower shots. Beautiful by NRG.
And this is what happens when you have these slow-paced games like this. Instead of losing a fight and you lose Gold Fury, well, because it's 21 minutes in, you lose the fight, you lose Fire Giant, you lose the Pyromancer. Now NRG have a chance to start grouping up, and there's plenty of gold still on the map in the form of all these tier 2 towers, even a couple tier 1 towers. Rival do want to respond, though, with this Gold Fury, and Emilzy's here to try and at least disrupt them long enough for adapting to make it in, but Gold Fury is already very, very low. They have to drop it. Emilzy has tracked them long enough.
Really like Emilzy, what he does there. Doesn't have to use skills, just has to stand right in front of Wolfie because Wolfie's very low on mana. It's just scary because you don't know the exact timings on when everyone's coming back. The highest wards that anyone on Rival has are around the red buff, and that might not be enough time to get the information. Do I need to beads this pluck? Do we need to burn the objective? It's a little bit late for a lot of those calls at that point. So I love what Emilzy does there, and I love the way he's played this entire game. That's really kind of been his play style, is just stand right in front of you, make you panic a little bit. Do I need to beads this? Am I allowed to be here right now? I mean, think to when Rival got the last Gold Fury and Emilzy chases them all the way to red buff. It's just Emilzy versus Wolfie and Vote, but he knows how much damage he can take. He knows how much damage he'll be doing to try and steal it away. Never got the buff, but it's the mindset that I really like.
And I talked about how much late game damage NRG have, but I don't think I gave enough credit to just how much control and setup that they have as well. I mean, the Stygian Torment, the Fear No Evil, even Emilzy with the plucks and the tail whips as well. It's not hard for Yemen to go 4-0-5 with this composition around him. As Emilzy pulls Vote back in, Collis does get a big knockup, and Wolfie actually hits multiple members with the Searing Pain. Stygian Torment controls 2 as Yemen deletes Ice Baby from the map. Now adapting, is able to come take down Vote. There's too many waves of initiation. He jumps in on a Wolfie. Aegis keeps him alive, but only for a second. Double kill for the jungler for NRG Esports. Only Deathwalker still alive, and NRG are coming to take more.
That is the most prototypical NRG fight I may have ever seen, because Emolito gets dove on the backside and Yemen and ML shred a jungler, just make him look silly, like he never should have even tried that. And then Adapting takes a 2v1 and double kills them because his team had pulled out relics and done the damage beforehand before he was able to get there. That's how NRG would prefer to team fight every time.
Right, I mean, this could definitely be the end of the game here. And in just one team fight, it feels like has spelled this half health now on the Titan. Deathwalker just kind of watching, standing by. The Emilzy may die to the Titan, but NRG take game 1 over Rival, and they do it in just a couple of fights and turn this game on its head.
14-3, nice and easy it seemed there for NRG, and I think that was just playing around the way that Rival was playing their game, and it really comes back. If that is a Purification beats pickup for Ice Baby instead of a Thorns, I think that really helps them out. I'm still surprised and not particularly pleased with the lack of Cursed Ankh for NRG, but they made it to they won so early that it didn't matter how much healing from the other side. They were separating Rival and team fight so well. No way for them to back up and use the sustain. Yemen played lights out on that Thoth. No one was getting away low HP because of his shots.
And we talked about this earlier today, just on Esports Weekly, right? How do you beat these healer comps? And we said it's early, right around the 23-24 minute mark. Now, this wasn't necessarily high pressure from NRG. This was control in those team fights. I mean, they were isolating people, they were burning beads, and then coming back in, reinitiating, and pulling them right back to the damage.
And this is how you play around a team you know very, very well. You say, we're going to leave this pick that they really want open, and then we're going to beat the hell out of it. We're going to take every pick that we've got and make sure that we feel comfortable with it, and then it'll play well against what we know the enemy team will pick. And I just feel like NRG out-picks and banned Rival in that game, and that doesn't happen very often.
Well, who was your MVP there in game 1? I know Yaman's the one that got out the good KDA, but he had plenty of setup. I feel like Amuzi played very well that game. I think you say good things about Maniac on that Cerberus as well.
I think that those are the top 3 in my mind. Emilito did have a very, very critical team fight underneath that tier 1, but the rest of the game he was just very, very safe, sitting in the back the entire time, which is what hunters are supposed to be doing.
Well, great positioning, great fight, really great game from NRG in game 1. They are able to take it, but it's a best of 3. They got to get it done one more time. We'll have the desk break down game 1.
Thanks a lot, Finch. Thanks a lot, Ryan. Excuse me. Tom and Toli here breaking it down. You look eager to go.
I mean, this matchup was very exciting to watch, considering how it started off. NRG, they find the first 3 picks. Rival show some life immediately after with a 3 for 2, but then the control just outweighed the amount of sustain that Rival had. The combination of the mana and the raw, not that much synergy going on. There's no real stun set up to allow the searing pain. So it was just more relying on the slow, the knock up into the slow, and it didn't really pan out. And they mentioned it perfectly on the desk, or on the cast rather, how Aggro was saying there's no beat on Vamana whatsoever. Every time he would go in, he would get punished.
That was the big deal for me. Vamana jungle, no problem with it. Even a lack of hard CC for Wolfie. We've seen Wolfie do great things on the Raw, even with less setup than this team had. I don't think the picks or the bans had anything to do with it. I think the itemization did. You simply cannot ignore Hun Bats. And we see teams do this time and time again where Hun Bats drops Fear No Evil, and then everybody just goes, why don't we just kill them, and picks their cat and picks these Dajis and these guys to just murder folks. And then Hun Bats comes back out and everybody goes, oh, we got crowd controlled to death. Oops.
So in this specific individual matchup, or this case, the 20-minute mark tower dive is what made the composition look bad, because when Deathwalker went in, the adapting Fear No Evil ultimate just allowed him to take more tower shots. He died. Ice Ice Baby tried to go in and follow up. He died immediately after without any sort of frontline to help out. Callus dies immediately after. NRG get Fire Giant, Runaway Wild. If Rival slow down the pace there, don't look for the tower dive, maybe, reach that 28 to 30 minute marker, maybe their composition works out.
Yep, maybe, but certainly not the case here today, folks. Game number 1 goes the way of NRG off of the back of Yaman. MVP will be our mid laner. Fantastic stuff here on the Thoth. Just did a great job by himself, but I think combining with the Hunbat also looked really nice. That shot was just great.
And a lot of these high tier SPL players love the Thoth, and considering how Wolfie likes the Raw, Yaman doesn't need to prioritize it so early in the draft. He actually got it on the 6th pick right before secondary ban phase, allows